All right, everyone. So I guess if you could kind of boil down the craftsmanship movement to like kind of one thing, it's really people who give a shit about software development, doing it with some level of pride and care for their work. The other side of that is that it's really, one of the things that I've liked about this movement is it doesn't focus on the negativity that sometimes pervades our industry. So I was really happy when Leon accepted, the offer to come talk, because in my opinion, he's one of the guys who really brings a lot of positive, kind of awareness and just positive energy into our community. And he also knows a ton and really cares about what he's talking about. So, Leon Gersing from Edge Case, locally in Ohio, please welcome him.
Can you guys hear me? Like comfortably, or should I use that mic?
Speak up a little.
All right, then I'll use the mic. So this place eats sound, right? Let's try Barry White mode. Hello? Testing? How about now? You like that? I'll try not to go all Chris Rock and drop the mic or anything. Welcome, enjoy. So I love this quote. Can everybody read it? No? There's a lot of whitewashing going on, so I'm sorry. So if I read slides, enjoy it. It'll be fun. I always wonder why birds stay in the same place when they can fly anywhere on Earth. Then I ask myself the same question. So this session is around the softer edges. It's around the things that are a little more difficult to define, a little more difficult to accept and understand and process. But I think it's a key component of the craftsmanship's journey or path, Tao, whatever word you associate with it. So that's what, now me solo, that's what I'm going to be talking about. Unfortunately, Charley Baker could not make it. He says hello, and he says, you're on your own, Gersing. So, this kind of session is one where you're free to just talk whenever you want. So shout out or say something or talk back or tell me to go F myself or whatever you want. Are there any children under the age of 17 in the room? Fantastic. There is not too much questionable material, but there may be a few things, tiny things here and there, okay? So you're warned. And if I can give you a heads up, I'll give you a heads up so you can shield your eyes or anything like that. So yeah, here, like a little moment for my long lost friend. Bye, Charley. So yeah, you already heard this. I work for a company called Edge Case, which is now becoming New Context. We were recently acquired. I have no idea what that means, so I'll just get that out of the way now, and we can move on to other questions. You can get me on Twitter at Ruby Buddha, and just Google for Leon or Guy with Hat. It's generally how you can find me. So as I mentioned earlier, ask away. Stop me at any time. These are softer aspects. Sometimes I've processed things and they don't come out of my mouth the way that I expect them to, so that they don't land. Anyone who's had one of my classes can attest to this. So if there is something that you'd like more clarification on, anything at all, or if something just resonates and you want to be like, yes, I agree with you and everything that you're saying, or God, what are you saying? That's ridiculous. That's a closet full of clown shoes, Leon. Stop talking. Well, if you feel that passionately, feel free to leave. I mean, it's fine. You won't offend me at all. I'll be around. So everyone, if you have a computer, who has a computer? Yeah, exactly. Go ahead right now, starting from scratch, in whatever language you want. I don't care. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what tools you use. Right now, do it. If you don't have a computer and you do write code, pseudocode it. Take 2 seconds, take as long as you need. Write hello world right now. Where's Mrs. O'Brien? She's like learning the line dance. She said she might come do filler. It's a real treat. She's learning Ruby too. And just shout out when you're done. Oh, yeah. That was a small group. All right. Still going? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Okay. 1, 2. You guys aren't doing it, are you? You're like, he's going to wait forever, isn't he? Is this the whole talk? Delete it. Delete it. Say when you're done. Good. Do it again. Say when you're done. Oh, good. Delete it. Done? Good? Yeah? All right. We'll move on from there. Fantastic. Okay, so let's start with the path. Obviously, this conference is talking about path, and this is an overextended metaphor, and I am going to overload it yet again. But one of the interesting things about the term path, especially in the West, is that we're conditioned from a young age to understand paths and as ways to get to a particular destination. As there is a goal in mind, there is a place that we are going to. And the path is basically that thing that's in our way towards getting to the place where we want to be. And I am going to try in the next hour or so to remind you that that is where you are supposed to be. That path is never ending, it continues infinitely, and that being on it in that moment, at that time, no matter where you are, is the most important thing in the world. That's the most important thing for your career development. That's the most important thing for your professional, for your personal development, for your emotional development. Swimming in the stream and letting it go with you. There are going to be roads that you can diverge and take. There are going to be places that you can stop off for a bit. You're going to meet people along the way, create lots and lots of beautiful connections, pick up tons of souvenirs. Fun, right? But if you're always looking ahead at the goal, at the end game, then you're going to miss the journey. The path is the journey. And the path is never what you expect it to be. Now, what you can't see, at least I can't with the white light here, is that this is an escalator with actual stairs and no escalator. It is basically showing that even that thing which you'd seen a million times and you believe to be reality is sometimes not what it appears. And you can make a choice as to whether or not you're going to walk up or go around or go home or blog about it or do whatever it is that you want to do. So along those paths, there are going to be folks who are going to project their vision of their own path onto you as you're trying to get your bearings. It's like if I ask somebody how to get to the Polaris Mall in the room, one of you will give me one answer, someone will give me another, and someone else will give me yet another. And if I take Corey's recommendation, where did he go?
I wanted to be able to see your slide.
Oh, there you are. I was about to reference you. There he is. And then I take Mr. Wingfield's example instead of Corey's. Then it's quite possible that the next time I talk to Corey, he's like, "You're an idiot. Why did you listen to that guy?" Seemed like a good idea at the time. So then you get marred in someone else's subjective reality as to what the true path is, which can be dangerous. If you are new, if you are interested in learning, and you still haven't formulated an identity or any confidence in that identity, then it's very easy to be swayed. Then it's very easy to take what people say as truth. Anyone who has anything to give, anyone who has anything to sell, has a definitive, invested purpose in which they have a stake in you seeing the world the way they do. That's what sales is all about, right? So if you get onto a certain path and it starts to feel odd and you start to go against the grain, you'll start to hear very similar things, that you're invalid, that you're not one of us, you will be ostracized, and you will be alienated. And this kills a lot of people's walking the path for themselves. If someone else gets to define reality, then you never ever get to take part in defining it for yourself. So take criticism always with a grain of salt. When I think about criticism, especially when it's geared toward my personal development, I try and remember that that criticism is from their perspective, from their point of view. And I take it in, I thank you for giving it to me, and then I get to make a choice as to whether or not it is a part of my subjective reality. Fair enough? See, I usually have my little clicker. So, to give a concrete example, I started doing the TDD thing a very long time ago, I guess now. What? Very long time in software years is what, 3 days? So about 6 years, 7 years ago. And read all the material that I could read on it, find as many people as I could to pair with on it, tried to get as much information as I could. And at the time, these were essentially the value propositions that were handed over to me. So Leon, the way that you've been writing software for years is completely wrong. You're slow. You ship too many bugs. They'd never seen anything I'd written, by the way. But it had to be true, apparently. And that if I simply followed one practice, that the reward would be all of these things. And I'll tell you what. The first year, it was true. The second year, it was even more true. And as I went on, I found more advanced pairs. I started to understand that there were techniques that I was missing. So I found other luminaries and forced them to sit down at terminals with me and share in their journey, to see the world from their point of view. And I liked what I saw. I thought it was a really cool vantage point. I liked all of this very methodical way to measure out and to evolve that which did not exist yet. When we create software, most of the times, it simply doesn't exist. Analogies that people like to use are the painter analogy. Someone gives you a blank canvas, could be a blank sheet of paper, could be a blank file in Emacs, Vim, TextMate, Visual Studio, Eclipse, Du Jour, whatever. And that's your canvas. You get to paint, right? And so from starting from scratch, it's great, especially when we start using the apprenticeship metaphor, which comes directly from European apprenticeship patterns, to actually have that kind of analogy and go and find these people out and start to see what they had to share and what they had to give. It was a wonderful way to experience the world through other people's eyes. But at some point, probably around year 4, it wasn't working anymore. I started to notice that the two at the top were consistent, but I could see them before the tests would produce them. I could see the world without time in front of me in my way. So in XP, there's a quote either by Ron or Kent, I can't remember now, and if one of them's in the room, they'll probably correct me, about code revealing its lessons to you. About that's what emergent design is. The code has lessons to teach you, and as you are working through it, you are discovering the lessons that it wants to give you. And that's wonderful until you start to see the pattern emerging. And then suddenly, the practice is in the way of the thing that you're actually trying to do. So I tried to bring this up with the same folks and was met with harsh, harsh resistance. That now I was no longer valid. That what I was doing was not real development. That they would not trust me with code. People that I'd paired with for months at a time. That's a very hard thing to hear. But my spidey sense was tingling because I didn't feel the benefit of the first two, and the third became a myth. The art of unit tests as regression, as the thing that will prevent that code from breaking, that will keep it malleable for years to come, for me, turned into a myth. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. But it did not reduce the overall number of bugs. And it could be me too. Maybe I just suck at this. Totally possible, right? But I'm hoping not, right? And faster to provide value was no longer true either. Because I knew where I was going on a particular road, because it revealed itself to me at the place that it would have anyway, I could get to the places I needed to go to ahead of where the tool would get me, or the practice would get me. Okay? So this is a common one, do as I say. When I made this discovery, I will not name names, half these people are probably here, but I had a year of pairing and working with people that I absolutely adored from afar, that I did not know personally, that I had never spent any time on a human level with, but I respected their work and I sought them. And in one case, one of those groups actually ended up giving code to us at EdgeCase to take over because they simply could not do it anymore. Great group of guys, fantastic people. And we looked at those tests first. We looked down and they had 100% code coverage. And we thought, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be the best project we've ever inherited. We don't have to clean up everybody's mess. We're going to jump right in. And I made one change, and I broke something like 45% of the entire suite. Thank you. So a spidey sense that was already tingling was now screaming in my ear, you have fallen into the wrong path. Which was not true. It was still worth the taking, but it did reveal to me a new truth, which was that this, as dogma, this practice, this form, as myth, serves a very specific purpose, which is to self-actualize, not to be your safety net, not to replace you from the equation. The lessons that you need to learn are for you. The discoveries that you're making are for you. These tools are just that, tools. They help you understand something that you do not understand about the world already. But they are not a panacea, and they are not perfect. To think that they are is to believe the myth and not the reality of the situation. Boop-a-doo. So in that was the big discovery that everyone has to follow their own path. On the one code base that I was saying that we had inherited, the biggest lesson that we had to learn, the thing that it really taught me, was that those developers really liked writing tests. So much so that a few test frameworks kind of fell out of them, that very code base. Because the tests were brilliant. They clearly articulated the intent of what the software was supposed to do. Unfortunately, if you flipped over to the code under test, it was garbage. None of it, it was brittle. It was a lot of low cohesion, a lot of tight coupling, a lot of copy and paste, people that were writing good tests and didn't remember the refactor bar. They weren't practicing enough. So it wasn't necessarily even the tool or the myth that fell down, it was the practitioner. On a separate occasion, when pairing with another master, I remember taking an entire day to gut the Rails view engine in order to test a string on a screen. And I turned to him and I said, "Would you really do this?" And he says, "Well, of course not." I said, "Well, then why are we doing it now?" "I was just curious." Not sure what that even meant then. I'm not really sure what it means now. But it did show me one key thing, that you are what you practice. That what you do daily is what you will get out in return. So taking the time to have someone else explore something for you satisfies a need that you could not satisfy on your own at the expense of someone else. That was a lesson learned, one that I have to be cognizant of in the future. It was a fun time. It was great to see the master at work. But what I did realize was this person did not necessarily practice these things that they were essentially preaching. And in the final example of this, I remember being lambasted at a conference for bringing it up that I thought that TDD was a worthless endeavor, that we were essentially linchpinning ourselves onto a fallacy, onto a myth, that those people who were seeking 100% code coverage were seeking a number and not quality code. And I got read the riot act. 6 months later, I inherited his entire billing system for a very important client. It had a 600-line single method for handling all payments. I remember calling Jim Wyrick, who works at EdgeCase, and saying, "Please tell me that Santa Claus exists. Please tell me that everything that I've been chasing for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it really is true." And he said to me, "Of course it does. Of course he exists. If you believe, if you want to. You practice what you want to do. This person maybe had some great words, but didn't practice on those words. So you have to find the reality and the truth inside of the myth that you hear." I'm reminding you to think, really, right? Everyone must follow their own path. You will see lots. You will hear lots of advice. People love to give it, right? Like me, right? That's what I'm doing, right? But remember that it's just one person's point of view. There's nothing to be gained from just consuming it. You must also be able to walk yours and contribute back, even in the face of being told to go away. So, write hello world again, right now. Go on. You're not doing it. Come on. No one's going to do it? I see a couple people. Who's done? Done, 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 done? Delete it. Good. Write it again. Done? Done? Delete it. Good. That which precedes you is invalid. So there's always a new hotness. This is our next myth. There's always something else to chase. There's always something new and shiny. TDD is hot. No, TDD's crap. BDD's the stuff. Oh, BDD sucks. Now this other thing is interesting. Or, the waterfall's terrible. And now Agile's the new thing. Oh, Agile sucks. Let's all do Scrum. Or whatever you want to call it. I got a certification for it. We can all be Scrum Masters tomorrow. It'll be awesome. Right? Don't do Agile anymore. That's ridiculous. Get this. So, this is crap. There are people who still do waterfall and do it well and ship software. For every person that tells you that something is dumb or dead or moving on or somewhere else or history and that you should buy their new book, ask them what they shipped beside the book. That's the important part. That which came before you informed the thing that came after. To know its history is to know why the choice was made. It's one thing to read the Agile Manifesto. It's another thing to go chat with these folks and understand why it needed to have a conference, why they needed to get together and talk about it, why it had to be brought up again. I remember reading it and going, this is common sense. Why did anyone get together just to talk about this? But it's because people lost touch. Hired someone to come in for $300 an hour, lost sight of who they were, let somebody else dictate everything, and then waited for the next fad to dig them out of that inability to define self. So this is what we hear now, right? This is the reality. This is what we keep hearing. And then Agile will die, and then something else will come on. In fact, I'll kill it right now. Agile's dead. You're welcome. Agile's dead. Most of what people say they're doing when they say they're doing Agile is waterfall with a big A Agile in front of it. Everything's a blocker, right? Your stand-up meeting, it's going to take, 4 hours to do, right? Timmy, how many people did we get to do a stand-up meeting in CodeMash 3 years ago?
43.
And how long?
7.5 minutes.
43 people in 7.5 minutes. And did everybody know what was going on? Yes. The idea was good. The systematic assimilation and over-processing of it is bad. If you take the art out of the artist, you're left with what hangs up in a Holiday Inn. Which is nice. I'm glad somebody put it up there. That's cool. Whatever. If that's what you're into, rock on. Sure, it puts food on the table for that guy. I'm not hanging it in my house. I don't want to see it. I'm saying Agile's dead because in practice, the Agile, as in I bought this book, it told me how to do Agile, now I'm going to follow X, Y, and Z, is dead. Because it's not something you write down. It's not a path that someone simply gives you. You're never going to just get a crib sheet for anything. Ever. Including things like this. But Leon, our software is so big and it's hard to change. Start firing people and ripping out code. Find another way to solve the problem than bolting on what you've already done. If you forget your history, then you're doomed to repeat it. I say that Agile is dead probably because it never was born. That there are small teams and there are small groups where these ideas were pioneered, where they were able to come and tell other people about it, and it didn't happen. Who remembers Plato's allegory of the cave? Yeah, a few of you, right? So for those who don't know or don't remember, the allegory is basically that if you took these three people and you chained them to a rock in a cave, no contact with the outside world whatsoever, facing a wall, and all that went onto the wall were shadows casted by a fire and people walking by creating reality for the people in the cave. That the people in the cave would suddenly believe that what they were looking at, the shadows, was true. was reality. And it would be for them. They would look at those shadows and they would understand, they would start to attribute things like, the cat's coming back. What's the cat? Well, the cat is the big guy, right? No, it's the little meow meow. No, it's the big giant dude, right? They'd fight about it. They'd figure it out. They'd put labels on it. They'd name it. And then what happens when one day you set one of them free? And you send him out of the cave and you show him the fire and you show him the scaffolding and you show him the puppets. Well, first he would lose his mind. His entire world would just go away. In an instant, he would have to redefine everything. It would be maddening. But Plato believes that at that point, once that person had been awakened, in a sense, that they would be compelled to go back to the cave and share what they had learned. That now those people's subjective reality was not only invalid, but it was his responsibility to go there and tell them that it was invalid. And they would reject it. That's what we thought. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing folks come back with real knowledge and reject it, but take on the forms, ape the motions, to keep a hold of their own subjective reality. It's a very dangerous thing, very tricky. Agile is dead, though. So rebirth it, please. There's a sucker born every minute. Who's that? Anybody know?
Barnum.
P.T. Barnum. So P.T. Barnum and Bailey Circus, he's often misattributed to the quote, "There is a sucker born every minute," which essentially means that, for whatever I can sell, somebody's going to buy it, right? The interesting thing is it's a misquote, and it's often taken directly out of context. Historians actually will say that instead, he was crafty. He did understand his market, and he would try and shape shows to sell tickets. That was his goal, to sell tickets. And that's what he did. He created a myth in order to sell tickets as reality, as truth. When you are listening for training, when you are looking for guidance, choose your masters carefully. Are they selling you a vision? Are they selling you their perspective? Are they selling you their experience? Or are they selling you a book? Or a certification? Yes, a certification. I'm sure there's even folks outside probably ready to sell certifications. And for some folks, that's a great way to define your reality. I would argue that that's being still chained to the rock. That you know what path you're on better than anyone who has a guidebook for you. And it's important to keep those things in check and to balance them. Not to ignore them outright, but to see them for what they are. There's the myth therein, there's the truth that they're trying to provide, and then there's the reality of the situation. Which one and which lessons you pick up and take with you are important. Important in identifying who you are and where you want to go. Whoop. All right, hello world again. This time in another language. I'll give you to the count of 10. 1, 10. Who's done? Yeah? Got some dones? Come on, Isaac. Man up. No. All right, fantastic. All right, you know what I'm going to say, right? Delete it. Do it again in a different language. That's 3. That's 3. Okay? Anyone done? Greg? Anyone else? Corey? 2? 2 craftsmen? 2? 3? 4? You are what you practice. Delete it. Do it again in a 4th. Do not be embarrassed if you could not do 4 languages right now. Do not be ashamed. That's not the point. Once you get to 4, no matter how long it takes, got it, Magnus? Delete it. Delete it. Thank you. Delete it. If it takes for the rest of this session, go ahead, keep coding. It's fine. I don't care. Practice. Take that lesson, though. Understand that. Understand that the most fundamental thing of what you do every single day is just that. Open a file, put some text in it, run it. If that takes longer than you like it to, practice doing that. Don't buy the book first. Practice doing that. Where are my JavaScript students? I saw at least 4 of them here. 1, 2, yeah. What did we do? What was homework? Open a file, right? Create a directory, open a file, create a file, open the file, put a little bit of JavaScript in it, and delete everything, and do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. I think a lot of times, as software developers, it's so important to be good. It's so important to be seen as equal to everyone else that we forget to simply practice the craft of doing software. I have seen folks decide that they were not going to learn a new language because they didn't know how to unit test in it first. I've seen people decide they're not going to tackle a platform because they don't know how to actually create files in it. They don't understand it. Give yourselves a break. Start from the beginning. Practice the beginning over and over and over again. If you don't think that I do this every day, you're wrong. And even if it isn't in the art of practice, in the way that I've done it here, I'm always opening a file, putting some stuff in it, seeing what it does, and deleting it. Practice what you're going to be. You are what you practice. Now, why do I ask you to delete it? The reason is code is a living representation of who you are right now. Period. Code is a living example of who you are right now. When I think back to the code base that had 100% coverage and all the tests passed when I got it and it looked all pretty from the outside and had a nice little shiny bow on it, what I realized after reading the 3rd or 4th test file was that I could now recognize each committer and I'd never worked with any of them. That the lesson that that code base had to teach me was who I was looking at, not what was under test. In fact, to this day, when I read other people's code, I see people. And I see people at times. And you can tell when someone makes a discovery, because suddenly that code gets better. You can actually see the difference in their own interpretation of the world. And once you see it in others, you'll notice it in yourselves. Then you can tackle those bits that you want to get better at. Then you can walk your path. You can use your tools. Pull out TDD every now and then. Pull out BDD every now and then. Pull up big design up front. Pull out CRC cards. Pull out whatever you need. Practice it and see it. Take the lesson, but not the dogma. The myth is good to get you by a book. But once you've got the lesson, delete it. Another myth. You were trapped, and I know the way out. This is what everyone's selling, right? Or you're trapped and you don't want to leave here because there is no way out. Or there is no other job. Or there is no other organization. There is nothing outside this cave. That person is lying to you. You are not trapped. There is a way out. There is more outside of your own self and your current reality. You simply have to seek it. I love seeing these. You guys know these, right? This is the most heartbreaking image I ever encounter. Because nowhere in these 6 boxes is reality for me at all. On purpose. If this is what I actually do, officially kill me. In fact, if I do any of these, you can go ahead and throw a brick. But this is what we have created for ourselves, collectively, as a group, developers. We are perpetuating our own myths. We are essentially boxing ourselves into our own archetypes so that we recognize each other at conferences, so that we know how to interview each other. If an interviewer asks you the question, tell me about the project in which you failed and how you fixed it, leave. They don't want to know anything about you. They want to know what you can do to fit into their group. They want to know how malleable you are in seeing the world from their perspective alone. There is more to development than ones and zeros. There is more than simple patterns. There is more than simple practices. And all the knowledge in a book, and I'm sure Corey probably was talking about this the session before, those things, the outliers, the things that will round you as a human being, will go into every line of code that you write. Code is a living representation of who you are right now. The code that I write today will not look like the code I write tomorrow, and it will not look like the code I wrote a year ago, and it won't look like the code I'm going to write 3 years from now. And that's a good thing. And we have to give each other the flexibility and the leniency to explore those avenues outside of judgment based on nothing, based on shadows on the cave wall, on myth. If you don't understand someone's perspective, you can figure out how to figure out what you want to do. You can simply write them off. You can say Leon's crazy and do whatever you want. But the thing that I like to do is to pair with them immediately. And many of you probably already know I'll drive just about anywhere to do it, and have done so. If I speak at user groups, it's not because I like to go, 10 hours out of my way just to go say hi about Node.js or something. No, it's because I get to go maybe pair with a bunch of people that I've never paired with before, that I get to see the world from someone else's vantage point. That I get to understand myself through the mirror that of my peers. And in that time, it's very rare that I ran into what people call the stock developer. And even when I did, even when they were wearing the uniform, 10 minutes at a terminal, I saw the nuance of their life. I saw the way that they see the world. And it informed everything since. It's like a drug to me. That's my path. That's my reality. You have to find your own. That's just the way it is a phrase that I hear uttered often when someone is trying to figure something out. They have a different idea. They want to explore an avenue that hasn't been explored. And they take it to their boss and they say, "Boss, I want to learn Erlang because it's weird. And I don't think anyone wants Prolog anymore, so I want Prolog 2, which is Erlang." Right? Any Erlang folks? No? God, wow. All right, I want to learn Ruby. I don't know. Whatever you want to learn. Doesn't matter what you want to learn. And the boss says no. And they go home and they take that as, well, it's worthless for me to do it. There's no reason for me to do this anymore. Well, then you are trapped. But it's not your boss that's trapping you. Not by a long shot. I had a very different existence before I came to EdgeCase. And I like to tell Joe that I spent 3 years essentially looking for him. The irony, Joe O'Brien, who I work for, sorry, at EdgeCase, is that we were meeting for 2 years prior, right? Hacking in bars or hacking in hallways or, "Hey, Joe, hey, I want to figure out how to do this in Ruby. Could you show me?" Yeah, come sit down, let's do it. 10 minutes, 10 minutes. It was worth a lifetime. And that's how I found a path to where I wanted to be. That's how I actualized it. Didn't mean I could quit my job because I wanted to change the way I was doing things that moment. I couldn't do that. I had a family. I had things to do. I have obligations. Couldn't just up and do it. But that didn't mean I couldn't go home and read a book. Didn't mean I couldn't go home, write a blog post. Didn't mean I couldn't find other people to chat with. And sure, some of them were like, "Noob, get out of here, whatever." That's their own thing, right? That's just them. They don't like what they see in the mirror and they have to reflect that back. But I guarantee you there are a lot of people who love what they see in the mirror who love to reflect it back. Isaac is one of them. Say hi to the people, Isaac.
Hi, everybody.
Isaac is, are you 18 now?
Yeah.
Yay, good for Isaac. Isaac was an apprentice at EdgeCase. And did we really have a program per se? Not really, right? Isaac thrived there because he took it upon himself to be in front of the people he wanted to be in front of. To ask the questions no matter how much especially the younger of our group who thought they were inane or were beneath them or whatever it was. He took the time to go out and find what he was looking for. Where have you gone since then?
To Checkout, Lean Dog, and Groupon.
That's not bad company. He's 18. No one has any excuses. You can do this now. If you're trapped, you are trapping you. So perception is reality. Woo! Far out, man. Right on. Which, of course, I don't know, I'm just pointing. So if you go to kindergarten, you're going to graduate, you go to first grade, then you're going to go to second, then you're going to go to third, then you go to fourth. And if you keep doing well, you're going to go to fifth, then you go to sixth. Then if you keep doing well, you're going to go to middle school. And if you keep doing well in middle school, you're going to go to high school. And if you do great in high school, you're going to go to college. And if you do great in college, you're going to go out and get a great job. Or you're going to go and get a master's degree. Then you're going to get a PhD, and then you're going to have the best job in the world, and then everything is going to be perfect. And then if you do that job brilliantly, you'll have all the money in the world, and you can bathe in it and die, whatever, who knows. That's not true. That's another myth. It's a fabrication. It's a process that we can easily repeat. It's something that we can do, right? We can make hamburgers faster. That doesn't make them any better. We can make code faster and with less bugs. It doesn't make it any better. There are ways to see the world outside of that which is prescribed behavior. So much so that some people take that to the furthest extreme possible, right? So this fellow, whose name I'm drawing a blank on, and I probably should have had a note on it, he wrote this paper, The Use of LSD-25 for Computer Programming, in the 70s. And yes, he couldn't see, he was writing this program in assembler, and couldn't see the whole system. It was a time where, he didn't have all the tools that we have today, and he just was at his wit's end, couldn't get any help, and decided, I'm going to do a little bit of LSD and just see what happens. Apparently took a lot of notes. The next day finished the program. It's still running. TDD that. This guy got me into Ruby. I've never met him. I don't know who he is. His name is Y, the Lucky Stiff. He's gone now. He vanished like a phantom. And he wrote this book, Y's Poignant Guide to Ruby. It is insane. It's insane. If you've never read this book, please go out and get it. It's free. It's online. You can read it while you're here. I don't care. Stop listening to me drone on. Read it now. It's beautiful. It's supposed to ship with an onion. I mean, it has cartoon foxes in it. It's amazing. They talk about chunky bacon. It made no sense. I had to read it 4 times, even before I decided to write any Ruby. It was great. There are different ways of looking at the world. If what you see presented in front of you does not make sense, if your spider sense is tingling, please, for all mankind and creation and whatever, go out and find another person who's doing it a different way. I guarantee you they are out there. You do not have to be Scrum certified to start doing Agile. You do not have to be doing TDD 100 hours a week to call yourself a developer. You know what you have to do? Write code. That's it. That's it. You want to be a craftsman? Do you want to know what that path is? No one can tell you. It's up to you to go find it. And there are people who are doing that. Even if that's the challenge, is finding people who can share that part of it. I got one for you right here, Isaac. He's 18. He can share all kinds of wisdom on you. All right, all of you who did all those languages, pick the one language you like and reverse a string. I'll give you more time for that. I'm going to ask you to delete it, so. All right, delete it. And then do it again twice. Yeah, done. All right. Fantastic. You guys are getting faster, too. I like that.
For 1 character strings?
Yeah, whatever you want. It's fine. If you can write it, if you feel good about it, ship it. Ship it. All right, where are you headed? Where is it all going? You heading down the stairs like this person? I like to think if you just turn to the side, she's flying. Yeah, that's better. Didn't even, like a boss too, didn't even drop the umbrella, right? It's like, I love this, gig 'em death. So where's it all going? You've accepted the challenge. You're going to be a software craftsman. You're going to be respected amongst everybody. You're going to be the ultimate ninja. That's great. How do you do that? I don't know. I can tell you what I did. My number 1 tip is find people and force them to be your mentors. Don't even tell them that they're your mentors. Just start showing up. Just start emailing them. It's fine, right? Just do it. You know what's awesome? If they tell you to go F yourself, you don't have to write them again. Checked off. Done. But then one of them will write back and answer your question in a way that you didn't think they were going to answer it. And that's all you needed. Mentors can really just show you doors. That's it. They can show you other paths that maybe you haven't considered. They can dangle things in front of your face that maybe were just totally out of your peripheral vision. But it's up to you to walk through those doors. It's up to you to go and chase those shiny lights. They can't do it for you. That's why I don't like certifications. Whoever said certification. Because that's the promise. The promise is, I will give you all the knowledge. I will take you down the path. When you're done, you will have all of the mastery that you'll ever need to be the thing that you want to be. I find that to have a diminishing return almost immediately. But a forced mentor, somebody that you can email, tweet, even a tweet. How often do you tweet me, Isaac? Yeah, a lot, and that's great. It's a forced mentorship. That's all it is. And then I get to bathe in the other side of it. He mentors me on how to expand my horizons. Those relationships are cyclical. And people who want to grow never stop. And if you give them an opportunity to see the world from yet another set of eyes, another vantage point, they will gladly accept the challenge. So your mentors could be celebrities, but beware the false god. Beware the myth. Beware of P.T. Barnum. Elvis is cool, though. I don't know. I just thought this was a very humiliating and terrible photo, but remarkably honest as well. No one is above you, ever. People are going to make mistakes. Now, it may have sounded like earlier I was chiding those people when I inherited things that I didn't necessarily understand at the time. And I still don't disagree with, yelling at me for not practicing something when they themselves didn't practice it. But it did remind me that our celebrities are just people who pee. That's it. And if you just think of it like that, well, then it's pretty easy to email them, isn't it? And they're just like you. It's no big deal. You can also find it in very unusual ways, too. Maybe it's a 900-year-old Muppet that sounds like Miss Piggy when you meet it. It is for me. I love Yoda. But it's never the packaging. A slick set of gloss on something doesn't necessarily make it better. And somebody who has something very icky and dangerous and nasty and ugly to show you may actually show you something that you've never seen. The job I had prior to EdgeCase, I worked at a company called Telligent. And I was on a product team with 10 other developers. And I would say that those 10 developers couldn't be more different. Like, you couldn't find 10 people who were more different and shove them in the same kind of problem space. And we were all geographically scattered as well. So we were culturally different, code different, philosophy different, everything was different. And each one of them had something to share with me. I didn't agree with most of them, but it didn't matter. I still learned from all of them. And in fact, I've picked up my number one interview technique from working there. And it's something that anyone who's ever interviewed at EdgeCase, I've put you through, and you all think I'm crazy. And I'll give away the secret since it's already getting out, which is when I pair with you, I'm going to pair and write the worst code I can possibly conceive of. It's going to be awful. And the reason that I picked this up was I had one developer who was completely obtuse to me. Did not want to pair, didn't want to see my version of the world. To be honest, at the time I was a little too headstrong as well, so maybe I was being aggressive. But I really wanted his side too. And wouldn't give it, just wouldn't give it. So we'd pair, and this is remote pairing too, so it's really easy to play Angry Birds while, not pairing with me. But it really changes things when you start really writing bad code that they have to maintain. It gives them a moment of you being vulnerable in which they can let down their guard and share something back with you. And it only has to happen once. So as you're taking that path, as you're taking that journey, as you're finding these forced mentors, if you can't get through to people you want to get through to, remember there are always different tactics. There are always different ways to attack the problem. Can everyone read this? If not, I'll read it out loud. Well, no one's talking, so I guess I'll read it. A master can only be a master today. You can't tell what the future is, as the situation may change. You can only be a master up to the present. An individual has to develop, continue with his own research, and grow every day. This is an 80-year-old Wing Chun Kung Fu master. And what I thought was great was the notion of fluidity in this path. Your masters will not have all the answers because they're not asking your questions. They're not solving your problems, they're solving their own. And what they're a master at today may not interest them tomorrow, and they will stop practicing it, and maybe they won't be a master anymore. That's not a bad thing. You can be just as flexible. And as soon as you reach a certain amount of fulfillment in one particular avenue, there's no reason why you can't delete it. This is just beautiful. Your masters can come in all kinds of packages, in all kinds of forms, and they can take the guise of things that are arrogant or gorgeous. That was my bad. That's my dirty slide. I just thought that kid was so cute, though. There was recently a blog post in which a kid, roughly, 20 or something, had just come out of Code Academy and was saying, "Hire me, I'm a rock star," and basically just shaking his butt in front of everybody about how he was hot shit. And I didn't see a line of code anywhere. It's just talk. It's myth. He's building a myth. And I think it was Corey Haynes, who retweeted it. Was like, "What's the danger in hiring this person?" And I couldn't respond at the time. Now, hopefully I'll talk to him about it. But the danger is that he doesn't even know who he is. Yes, it's a danger to hire that person. He's not even asking the right questions. He's not seeking the right answers. And right's not even the term I would use. It's more, he's so engrossed in the myth that he's forgetting the practice. He's forgetting what he wants to do. I'm looking for this. I'm looking for people going out, seeing the world from a different perspective, touching life in a completely new and original way. Everyone must find their own path. Finding that path is tantamount to finding your identity. I work to live, I don't live to work. It's wrong. It's a 30-year life. And for me, it's probably 2/3 of my life. Not because I have to, because I want to. Because I love to. If I had to do that by myself, if I had to have somebody tell me when to do it, where to do it, how to do it, who would I be? Wouldn't be anybody. I'm nobody now, but I know who I am. And I like that. Finding that path means understanding your reality, understanding your perception therein. Now, we're running short on time, so I won't read this poem. But if you have a moment and you want a little art, and you know who Shel Silverstein is, right? Probably. Where the Sidewalk Ends, Giving Tree, that kind of guy. He wrote this poem in the 70s called The Perfect High, in which he talks about this guy who is trying to find the perfect high. He's essentially tried coke and speed and barbiturates and heroin and whatever he can find. And someone tells him, "Hey, go on up this mountain. There's a guy who's been sitting there forever, and he knows about the perfect high. His name is Baba Fats." And he goes and he spends 10 years climbing the mountain to get to Baba Fats, and he gets all the way up there and he says, "Hey, Baba, tell me the perfect high. I'm tired. I want it." And he says, "Well, it's in you." And he rejects it immediately. And so Baba makes up a story and tells him to go find it somewhere else, a mythological tsetse tree. Chase the myth to find the perfect high. And he does. And Baba's point is that it doesn't matter. It's a chase. He missed it the whole time. He's looking for the high. But he spent 10 years climbing a mountain. He spent 20 before that experimenting with different things in life. But because he was focused on outside, he was focused on the destination, he missed the mountain climb. Don't miss it. Here's some pro tips. Read code. Read more code than you write. There's no myth when you read code. Period. The truth is there in the writing. You cannot write code unless you're reading it. Then write it. And write lots of it. Then delete it. And then write it again. You do this all the time. You pick up a new card off the wall. You're putting it into the same code base. You're essentially writing new code all the time. Write it, delete it. Play with others. Find other friends to play with. They could be forced mentors. They could be people that you're mentoring. They could be peers on your level. It doesn't matter. Play as often as you can. I learned this immediately when I met Jim Wyrick. I met him for 5 minutes. He gave me a big old hug, and he asked me a question about something, and we ended up sketching out some framework. I think it was the Given. He wrote some Given framework on napkins because we didn't have computers. It was not working with others. It was playing with others. Play is essential. And if you love what you do it for you. Play. Have fun. Trust your spidey sense. Mine went off and I kept thinking that somebody else had the answer, but that wasn't the truth. I had the answer all along. Seems legit, right? No, run, scream, get away from that. You don't need Skyrim on your in-8. Think and feel. That means the two are they're not mutually exclusive. When you're thinking about things, when you're crafting solutions to problems, as you're designing any kind of solution, you must see the other side. There must be the value. There must be the emotional component. Do not divorce the emotion from your life. Think and feel. If somebody is adamant in opposition to your thought process, be hurt. If they're being aggressive, sure, but let that go and then try and understand what else is there. Be empathetic to the people around you, and they will return it in kind and allow you the time to fail and succeed. Fail and succeed. It's important. Enjoy now. Stop waiting. If you go home and you say, I'm not doing the thing I wanted to do, and you were here for 8 hours, go find something, please. You don't have that much time. Isn't that great? I know it's such like a weird, stupid optical illusion, but man, go catch a rainbow. Like, enjoy it. Tell someone to take a picture. Share it with your friends. Have fun playing. And in my last couple of minutes, I want to go over the biggest myth in society today. Time does not exist. Time is a myth. The linear construct of time does exist in some shape or form, of course. But time has always been, and I don't mean this in the Einsteinian, a relative concept. It wasn't until the last several hundred years where we even started counting by minutes and really holding people accountable to that. And now we measure everything in the microsecond. And you start thinking about your day in segments of this 10 minutes here, this 15 minutes here. Oh, I can go have lunch with this person, but only if I eat for 40 minutes and then I leave, so I have enough time to get back to work for a meeting that's going to last 10 minutes. And then that'll probably go over 5 minutes, so I'll take that next 15 minutes to do this email thing. And then for the next half hour, please, stop doing that. Take the time where you're doing things that you don't care about and stop doing them. Time is relative. You will do it on your own when you want. Do not fall into the trap. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can't rigorously measure your time in those little micro notches and then claim that you don't have any left. No, you don't have any energy left. You don't have any faith left. You don't have any passion left. You got plenty of time. Use it. Find the thing that you want to be and start walking. Any questions? Real book? I don't know. Fake enough. I don't know. I found it on the internet, so it must be real. I got like 3 minutes. Anybody have any questions? Hey, big hand for Charley Baker, right? I mean, way to hold it down, anchor this talk. I do that because it's being recorded. So Charley, that one's for you, baby. Anything? No? Okay, so in my final act, I would say, now that you've reversed the string, take an array of integers and do a binary search on them, or a binary sort, and find the best way to get to like the, I don't know, 3. Okay? Do that, and then delete it. And then, when you're done with that, go read Josh Block's blog post in which they discovered a 30-year-old bug in C and in the JVM in the binary search algorithm. And then tell me that your tests are bulletproof. Thank you.